We woke up on our rented Aqualodge houseboat in Marathon, Florida. And after our morning routine, we packed up, checked out, and headed to a place called Crane Point Hammock Nature Center, just down the road from our houseboat in Marathon. You might wonder, as we did until we visited, what is Crane Point Hammock, and how did it get its name? We learned quickly that the word hammock is in the name because the term hammock is used to describe a stand of hardwood trees that form an ecological island which is surrounded by a different ecological system. In this case, residents on this land back in the day planted mahogany trees which form an ecological island surrounded by wetlands featuring lots of mangrove trees. We entered the gift shop where you can buy your tickets, which are $17.95 per adult, which we thought was totally worth it, and you'll see why in a moment. There are discounts for senior adults, kids, and military personnel. The same building also houses a museum, but it was being renovated when we visited in spring 2025, so we did not get to see the museum. As you exit, there are a couple of exhibits outside. This includes a couple of old dugout canoes, one of which is 600 years old. There's a little lagoon that houses tropical fish commonly found in the Atlantic Ocean. There's a Pirates Play area that is a nod to the Florida Keys pirate history. The museum apparently has remnants of pirate ships on display as well, according to the website. Alice was very happy to find a tortoise habitat near the building. She loves turtles and tortoises. They had two pretty large tortoises who were being fed while we were there, so they were eating and were pretty active. Those weren't the only animals we saw as we explored, though. There was a family of raccoons living on the land here. We usually think of raccoons as marauding bandits, but these raccoons were actually pretty adorable. Crane Point Hammock also houses the Marathon Wild Bird Center, which rescues injured birds, rehabilitates them, and when possible, releases them back into the wild. This bird center has rescued more than 25,000 injured birds since opening in 1995. As we continue the tour, if you're enjoying it, please click the like button and consider subscribing to the channel as well. This channel is my wife Alice's passion project. She's out of town on business at the moment and asked me to do all the narration myself so this could be posted in a timely manner. She does travel videos like this with my help as cameraman at least once a week, and she would really appreciate the support. Another thing we did at Crane Point Hammock was take a guided tour through the center's 63 acres of woods and nature trails. The tour guide drove us and several other guests through the area on a large golf cart, mostly providing information about the trees and plants we encountered as he drove.
And green leaves is a 7-year apple. Produces apples more frequently than 7 years, and they do not taste good. More importantly, here's your fourth cactus coming up on my ring.
But the best part of the tour was when he told us about the history of the area, most of which centered around a few historic houses on the property. The first house we saw was the former home of Francis and Mary Crane. They bought the property, now known as Crane Point Hammock, in 1949. And in 1954, they hired Miami architect Wall Snyder to design and build a very unique home for them. Today, this home is used as an event space that can be rented for a party, wedding, or other event. The only way to see inside of the Crane's home, though, is to take the guided tour. If you're just walking around the grounds, you can see the outside of the home, but to tour the inside of the home, you have to ride back in the golf cart with a tour guide. Obviously, the Crane in Crane Point Hammock comes from this family's last name. Nearby the home is a tidal pool where you can get a fish pedicure. You just stick your feet in the water and let the little gambusia fish get to work eating dead skin cells off your feet. It doesn't hurt. It does tickle a little. Our tour guide made sure to mention that this is a treatment people pay good money for up in Miami spas, but it is free to experience here with your ticket purchase. This area designed for the foot pedicure is one of only 2 places you can actually get in the water on this property. Okay, enough with the feet. We round the bend and get to an area with a beautiful view of the bay. This area is called the Point. So in review, for those of us asking how this area got its name, Crane Point Hammock. At the Point is the other place you can get in the water as part of a guided kayaking and snorkeling tour of the bay, which is an extra ticketed activity. Our golf cart tour guide brought some fish food and threw it over at the side of the dock, and we got to see a lot of fish rush up to get it. The next historic home we saw was the Adderly House. This is one of the oldest houses in the Florida Keys. In fact, it is the oldest house in the Keys outside of Key West. This classic Bahamian-style house was built in the early 1900s out of tabby, a substance that was made by burning seashells. Bahamian immigrant George Adderly became the first settler on this land when he and his family purchased 32 acres of this land in 1903 for $100. The home is rectangular shaped with 2 windows on each side for cross ventilation. The kitchen was a separate detached building from the main house, as was not uncommon at the time. A small community of about 10 houses were built around George's house, and this small black community would be known as Adderly Town. George Adderly served as their pastor and held services in his home until a small church was later built nearby. But he made his money as a boatman engaged in sponging. The other house we saw in the hammock was the Florida Cracker House. These cracker houses were commonly built from the late 1800s till the early 1900s. This is a one-room house made of wood. I believe this is probably a recreation just because the wood does not look very old. Today, the house contains exhibits about area seashells, butterflies, and sea turtles. If you want to walk rather than take the guided tour by cart, the main loop through this land is about 1.5 miles long. The guided tour takes place several times a day at specific times, which do vary by day, so check in the gift shop to find out when the tours are scheduled on the day of your visit. We weren't sure what to expect when we went to Crane Point Hammock, but we ended up spending almost 4 hours there, and it was a fascinating place to explore. Click the links at the end of this video for more of our Florida Keys explorations. And please subscribe and click the notification bell so we can see you the next time we're traveling through.